people, and today we're breaking a film on Andrew Meyer, Miami Dolphins center, looking over his preseason film from last year because, he made the team as an undrafted free agent, but didn't get a chance to play throughout the regular season because Brewer stayed healthy, which is great. But I do think Meyer, got to, rehash this film, look over again, because I think he's a good backup center option for Miami. His athleticism is really good. Like, he fits in the scheme really nicely. When an undrafted guy makes the team, that's always a pretty big accomplishment. So, shout out Andrew Meyer. Definitely wanted to go over this stuff again. Look into some things that I think are really good about his game. Some other things I think he needs to work on. And then, talk about maybe like he is a center only backup. That is something that could potentially hurt him in the future, maybe making a team, is that he will be seen as only a center because, other guys will have maybe guard versatility. But there's a lot to like with Meyer's game, especially with, and it seemed like the Dolphins really liked Meyer a lot last year. Going into the preseason with how much like the confidence they had in him, how they talked about him. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. It really helps out, with the YouTube algorithm and all that. If you want early access, join as a member and for some other perks. Yeah, let's get into this. First clip right here. He is gonna be center in all of these clips. He is a center only guy. Like that's just like due to his play, his size, like just play style, all of that. Definitely screamed center, but you can just see like the screen ability out in space. We know how important this is in Miami's offense. It's one of Brewer's biggest strength. So finding this kind of player as UDFA, I think, is very nice. You can see like great angles. Like you can see how he gets flat here because he's going out in space. He wants to cut off 53. He's not even looking where 53 is at this point. Like he can maybe see him as peripheral, but like he's making sure he gets to his spot. And now he sort of peaks. He wants to gain some speed there. And he does a great job of getting really horizontal here, staying flat. So if he tries to get onto him now, maybe 53 will go to the top, but he's able to, match that, get his head across, bring your hips with it too, and now he's able to seal this on that linebacker and then maintain it, the block for a while. I think somewhere he could be better is with sustaining blocks, but this is a pretty good job sustaining for the most part. Loses it right there, and then we'll go to the ground, but he held it definitely for long enough. But it's the initial part that gets you really excited about Meyer's game. That athleticism is super good. And you saw that at his film. I think he was a UTEP kid. If you watch his film, like he was super athletic at UTEP. He just had some like anchor questions, some play strength questions. Now I do think his play strength and anchor both looked better in the Dolphins preseason than it ever looked in college. You could tell he definitely packed on some, power. I still don't think it will ever be a strength of his game, but it didn't seem as big of a concern as it was, I think, watching his college film. But man, his ability to climb the second level, just cut off, really impressed. Here, like, with how he kind of is going to throw a drag hand, because he has a guy head up on him. So he would be trying to help his right guard cut him off. But with how the nose plays this, he kind of takes himself out of position and gets that right guard an easy block. So Meyer can instantly climb the second level. Really smooth and controlled. I think good body control and balance. And now he's just in the position exactly where you want. This is like, sometimes this is all it is with playing Dolphins offensive line. It's not always about displacement and bullying people. Sometimes it's about just positioning, and this is one of those examples where positioning is super important. Is when you're climbing the second level like this, and Meyer does a really good job of that. You have to be really athletic to play center in the Dolphin system, and I think that's why, like, if Meyer ever had to play, I actually wouldn't be super concerned. It wouldn't be as good as Brewer, but I think he could still get the job done. I think where you're going to see more of the fall off is like your backup guards, and then once you get past like maybe a tackle, then you're going to start seeing some fall off. But I think Meyer can fill in at center. I think, in pass pro, you don't have to be perfect to play in the Dolphin system. We've seen it. Like Brewer, coming from Tennessee, had really struggled in pass pro. Coming to Miami, he didn't really have that many struggles there. And I think Meyer shows off really good recovery ability. They love to jump set. They love using play action. And in preseason, the Dolphins weren't doing all of this stuff either, to where like they're making it super easy in comparison to what they're doing in the regular season. So one really good job recovering here, because he kind of, oversets a bit. This guy gets across his face. Use that inside hand to stall this. And then look at him reset the hands, bring your hips back across, get back into the chest of this DB, and then able to, anchor. Just recovery ability is really nice. And you can see the athleticism, the feet, ability to use your hands, your hips, really good there from Meyer. And then just cutting off, simple reach blocking stuff. Like here as a nose tackle, versus a nose, he's going to cut that off every time. He's going to reach you. He's going to get your hat across on you. You have to be able to do this, I think, as a center, especially versus a nose tackle, and also a one tech that's to the play side. I think Meyer clearly has the athleticism and just like feel for it, technique. Uh, does his job there for long enough. I think this is somewhere he could potentially do better is when he is working like the double teams to climb the second level. Like he stays on this long enough. I'm not sure. I don't think the right guard does a really good job there helping him out, trying to cut him off. But I do think Meyer could do a better job in these situations, maybe using his hands there. I feel like sometimes he just kind of rides his shoulder with it. I think maybe using that inside hand, that drag hand to like help your guy get more control and then climbing to the next level. Plus, it would help you, I think, just be in more control of the situation. So sometimes he does that, and then when he gets to even the next guy, he doesn't like sustain it either. Sometimes he just kind of goes with his shoulder into people. So I think using your hands, like when he does use his hands, I think he's pretty good with them. But sometimes he doesn't always shoot them. So I think finding more consistency there. But you can still see the athleticism to cut off, like, and be in the right position for Meyer there pretty nicely. Here's an example of him working a double team, climbing the next level. A little different here. He's not trying to reach. He's, sliding down, creating some horizontal displacement on the D lineman. He does a good job there. Then get to the second level. Does a good job kind of scoring him up initially, but I think, as you can see, you want to see him sustain blocks on linebackers a little bit better. So better grip strength, I think, for sure, would be something nice for Meyer. But those initial parts of the play, like, there's a lot to work with, and maybe in year two, you'll see some better stuff. I think in Pass Pro, he showed pretty good ability, like, identifying and picking things up. Like, here he's working on, kind of 71, kind of looks like he's going to kind of take him on. Once 71 crosses face, he knows he has inside help from the guard. He passes that off, gets head up to find 45 blitzing, finds it, able to stall that very quickly. I think he's pretty heads up versus like twist stunts, finding the delayed linebacker, understanding his job, where his help is. Here you can see the example of a little bit of an anchor. Love his ability to reset the hands because he loses the initial battle here, kind of like falls off balance. Look at him reset that hand, re-leverage it, bend in that lower half, showing some ankle flexion. Gets a little too far over the top, but he's still able to stay on his feet, get back in position, and not give up too much ground. I think, that's a better example. I feel like I saw him get pushed back in the pocket so far in his college film. And this is a pretty good, like, you're going against better college competition in the preseason than you were going against in college. And he's, I think, showed a better ability to anchor, reset that hand, re-leverage, play with really good pad level, get back in that positioning. Really good stuff there from Meyer. Pretty good feet there. I like his redirection skills. Like, once a guy crosses his face, like, guy tries to cross his face, he gets out. Boom, ability to redirect. I think, he can do a little bit better with his footwork. Sometimes he'll get it, like, too heel clicky. His base won't be wide enough. So I think his base could use some work. His, hands at times can use some work. But those are all things that you can easily fix. And the fact that he was still winning a lot of those reps, even with maybe, poor technique at times, is still a good sign, I think, for him, because, things aren't always going to work out perfectly for you. Here he is at center again. Just good job redirecting with his feet, mirroring, matching, not allowing the guy to collapse the pocket on him. Here he is working out horizontal. Like I'm saying, sometimes he just gets so caught up trying to just, like, right here, I think he's expecting, 75, and then he wants to climb. But, like, when he's in this position, like, I think he just needs to get his head across, get your hip position. Or if you are going to climb, then climb to that linebacker. It just doesn't work out in this situation, kind of throws his body around. I just think more consistency from that perspective in these areas when working these combos with the guard like that, especially the guard that's on the backside of outside zone, will, do him some wonders and will really help him out, because he really has that athleticism to work really well laterally, climb the next level in a lot of situations. Here he is, on the end around reverse action, kind of running into people. Like, here he runs into this D tackle, runs into this edge, kind of slows them down. So he does his job initially to kind of freeze these guys, doesn't allow them to get around the edge. And even after taking on two people, he's still on space to block for the receiver. Now, there's no one to end up blocking, so the receiver does end up passing him. But it did take him, like, 10-ish yards to pass him. Meyer is a pretty good mover, and Meyer also still hit two people on the D line. So, still a lot to like, I think, on that play. Here's a rep where he clearly lost. Just some poor technique, playing too far over the top, lunging, poor base. Like, you can see his feet weren't great, misses the hand usage. That's, like, one of the only, like, he didn't have too many, like, clear losses in preseason. There's some where you're like, oh, that he needs to play that better. This was one of his clear losses, and, just a lapse of technique, I think, from Meyer, something that showcases. But that is stuff that you can work on. Here you get to see him, showing a little bit of an anchor. Guys tries to collapse the pocket, does a good job resetting those hands, refitting, working leverage. You can see the athleticism. He fires off the ball. He sees 40 potentially blitzing. Once he identifies 40 dropping into coverage, boom, look at him. It kind of explode out laterally to help his right guard there on 54 and then get control of the situation, mirror and match him. Good feet. Uh, Another example of hit not giving up room in the pocket. And I just like, even though these plays aren't super crazy, it's the ability to reset your hands, refit, re-leverage. Don't allow the guy to build a momentum. And this is just like where he struggled in college. And like seeing him have that improvement, I think was huge for him. Just a really good scheme fit here. He is picking up twisted stunts, good hand usage inside the chest. Pass this guy off. Once you pass it off, he's playing with better knee bend here, better base. Uh, Open up the hips there. You can see he opens up the hips with the guy trying to work across, and then is able to bring his feet back into position to cut that off. Really, really good athlete. The athleticism is just so special. Here he is kind of finishing this block out in space. Isn't able to cut him off, but I do like certain things about this play. Like one, he is explosive to get out there. Isn't able to get his hat across, but sometimes it's not always going to happen. Your position needs to be perfect. But I love how he's able to sustain this one. Go like a little high hand, low hand, torque. The guy maybe gets a hit on the running back, but since Meyer's blocking him, he's not able to wrap up. Wright's able to bounce off of it, pick up extra yards to the outside, and then Meyer's able to finish that to the ground. So that's not a terrible example. Here he is climbing the next level. This is a pretty interesting example because one, the right guard runs the wrong play. Right guard runs the opposite direction. Meyer's able to basically rip past the nose tackle and get up to the next level. Left guard cuts off his guy, and then he gets his body on that linebacker. He's able to spin out of it late, but he does his job there. Range and pass pro, man. He's got some really nice range, which sometimes can help as a center. It doesn't always get to be showcased, but sometimes with how wide guys are aligned and you're sliding to the guy at the three tech side and no one knifes inside here, he goes over, helps out the left guard who loses pretty quickly. And look at to get over to the B gap here with how quickly the left guard loses is very impressive. To help him out there in that situation. Lots of reps here, climbing the next level, ripping out there, kind of rip past that guy, get instantly to the linebacker. I think he's more comfortable when he can just climb instantly to the next level rather than working a combo. I think we've seen the examples of that on film now, but I think for a guy's UDFA, there was a lot to like with his stuff and having like the center position. I think the center position is very important in Miami. Brewer was great last year for them, and he still is a great worker for them. But having Meyer as a potential backup and also maybe a potential developmental starter down the line, maybe when Brewer contract works up, I think there's something there for that, especially in this system. I think, once if McDaniel ends up moving on, like, they move on from McDaniel, uh, I think a lot of these guys would end up, moving on pretty quickly. But I think for the system, he is definitely a guy you're trying to keep long term and I think can make an impact short term if he doesn't need to come in. There's things he's doing pretty well here, cutting people off in the run game, moving well out in space on screens. I think in pass pro, you're seeing the recovery ability, the ability to reset his hands, refit, work leverage really nicely. I think, there's better job using his hands more consistently, a better base in pass pro for sure. But yeah, there's definitely things. I think the Miami Dolphins coaching staff really likes him, just the way that the last preseason sort of played out. So if you usually do, comment and subscribe. Until next time.